yesterday, Mazzulla told NBC Sports Boston he wants to bring back fighting to the NBA when asked about what he would change about today's association.
Old folks talk about how competitive basketball was back in the 80s. So what changed? Celtics head coach Joe Mazzulla recently stirred things up, saying he wishes the NBA allowed more fighting, just like in other sports. Is he crossing the line, or could he actually be on to something here? Either way, it's a bold take from the leader of the reigning champs. So what did Mazzulla really say? Before we go into details, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. For starters, Joe Mazzulla is definitely not your typical NBA coach. In a league where sideline suits have disappeared.
Well, listen, here's the deal. Mazzulla's the kind of guy, because obviously they talk about him in martial arts, and he doesn't mind fighting and what have you.
And coaches' personalities feel more muted. Mazzulla stands out. At 36, he's the youngest head coach in the NBA and brings a fresh, unconventional perspective to the game. His comments about wanting to see more physicality, even fighting, might sound shocking, but they reveal his take on what could make the game more engaging. In a recent interview with NBC Sports Boston, Mazzulla didn't hold back. The biggest thing we rob people of from an entertainment standpoint is you can't fight anymore. I wish we'd bring back, fighting. You want to talk about robbing the league of entertainment? That's more entertaining than a little scuffle. How come in baseball they're allowed to clear the benches? How come in hockey they're allowed to fight? I don't understand. But it's not that simple. There's a long history behind why the NBA has cracked down on physical play. 20 years ago, the infamous Malice at the Palace brawl between players and fans left a mark on the league and changed public perception of NBA players. Since then, the NBA has worked to distance itself from that violent image.
I would say this. I wouldn't go as far as he said it, but I do think that the NBA, I'm not talking about the players, I'm talking about the way the game is called. I do think that it's gotten a bit too soft.
In America, seeing fights in sports like baseball or hockey might be acceptable, but NBA fights carry a different weight, especially in close proximity to fans. The cultural and social layers behind NBA policies on physicality mean there's a lot more to consider. Baseball and hockey may have room for that kind of enforcement, but the NBA has carved a different path, choosing a more controlled and skill-focused game. Going back to the late 90s, the NBA was far from the polished, high-scoring league we see today. Games with gritty, physical battles, and some moments left an unforgettable mark. Take the infamous 1997 Eastern Conference semifinals brawl between the Knicks and the Heat. Miami's P.J. Brown hoisted Knicks guard Charlie Ward upside down like a wrestler, sparking chaos that altered the series. The incident led to a cascade of suspensions in Game 6 and 7.
The slightest thing, even cats jawing at one another, you can get teed up for crying out loud. I think that's a bit excessive. Guys are hyper, guys are motivated, they're going after it and what have you. You want to find yourself in a situation where you're literally going at one another.
So extensive that then Commissioner David Stern had to issue them alphabetically to ensure the Knicks could still field a team. Not even a year later, another wild clash unfolded. Knicks forward Larry Johnson and Heat center Alonzo Mourning let their rivalry explode into a flurry of punches in the final seconds of their playoff series, though not one punch landed. What did land, however, was Knicks coach Jeff Van Gundy clutching Mourning's leg like a lapdog in an attempt to break up the brawl. This laughable but embarrassing visual pushed the league to crack down on courtside altercations. Celtics head coach Joe Mazzulla seems to long for that era. In a candid interview, he questioned why sports like baseball and hockey still allow brawls. Baseball's got bats and weapons, hockey's played on ice with sticks, a puck, and body checks, but in basketball, all we've got is a ball, and yet we're not allowed to throw down? And if you think this is just talk, Mazzulla's actions say otherwise. Before Game 3 of the 2024 NBA Finals, he pumped up his team by showing them UFC fight clips, including Alex Pereira's match with Jamal Hill. No other coach in the league has taken that approach, but Mazzulla's all about intensity, however he can inspire it. Not to forget, Joe Mazzulla has a unique style of coaching that keeps everyone guessing. His methods might be unconventional, even bizarre, but they certainly grab attention. One of his latest innovations? A scrimmage where no one could score. On the first day of Celtics training camp this season, Mazzulla covered the rims with plastic bubbles, making it impossible to sink a single shot. During those intense 2 minutes, players had to find alternative ways to earn points because shooting wasn't an option. It's the kind of outside-the-box thinking that's become Mazzulla's signature. And whether it's weird or genius, it definitely gets results. And that's just the start. At 36, Mazzulla isn't afraid to shake things up across the board. One of his latest ideas, bringing hockey's power play to the NBA. He mused that basketball lacks something crucial other sports have, a way to make teams play short-handed. Basketball is one of the only sports that doesn't have a power play, he said. He even referenced soccer's blue card rule, which creates a temporary advantage by forcing one team to play down a player. Mazzulla thinks basketball could use a little more of that intensity. Of course, not everyone is on board with Mazzulla's vision, especially given the NBA's strict stance against physical altercations. In fact, players can be suspended just for stepping off the bench during a scuffle, like in the 2007 playoffs, when Amar'e Stoudemire was benched for a game simply for standing up during an incident with the Spurs. The NBA has made it clear that it doesn't want fighting to be part of its brand. So, when Mazzulla suggested his radical ideas, it raised eyebrows and a few strong opinions. One voice who weighed in was none other than Warriors forward Draymond Green, who knows a thing or two about on-court altercations. On the Draymond Show, Green reacted to Mazzulla's comments with a mix of understanding and pushback. I get what Joe's trying to say, Green noted, but as for real fights, Joe, I'm here to petition against you. Green's stance isn't surprising given his history. He's been at the center of many heated moments, including a 12-game suspension last season and even an infamous chokehold on Rudy Gobert. Green showed zero regret. Maybe Mazzulla imagines a league full of players with that same unapologetic fight. For him, these are the kinds of incidents he thinks add fire to the game. And while he might not win the NBA over to his way of thinking, one thing's for sure, he's got everyone talking. Interestingly, Stephen A. Smith didn't completely dismiss Mazzulla's ideas about allowing more physicality in the NBA. In fact, he saw some truth in it. Smith said, Mazzulla's the type who doesn't mind a little bit of a brawl. He's got that martial arts mindset. I wouldn't go as far as he did, but I do think the NBA's gotten a bit too soft. Players just jaw at each other and get slapped with a technical. It's gone overboard. Smith raised a point that resonates with a lot of fans who feel the league's new restrictions on even verbal confrontations are draining the intensity from the game. Smith didn't stop there though. He added, these guys are pumped up. They're competing. Let them get in each other's faces a little without swinging punches. It's part of the passion, and we're losing that. Smith's perspective shows that while full-on fights might be a stretch, there's room for more energy, more raw emotion, without punishing every heated moment. And in typical fashion, Houston Rockets center Steven Adams brought his humor into the conversation, playfully poking at Mazzulla's comments. He posted on Instagram, jokingly saying, $20? I'll punch Rudy Gobert square in the nose. Instagram didn't share the laugh though, quickly took the comment down. Adams' lighthearted jab showed that while some may criticize Mazzulla's ideas, others find it funny and perhaps a bit refreshing. Today's NBA isn't devoid of physical play. In fact, with the floor spacing in the modern game, players have more room and speed to deliver impact compared to the cramped paint of past eras. But where the league might be mistaken is in thinking fans don't want to see some physicality. Imagine how the intensity might shift if players knew they could get in each other's faces without referees stepping in at the slightest provocation. In sports like the NFL, controlled aggression is part of the game, and it keeps fans on the edge of their seats. Some villains who aren't afraid to mix it up might just add a new layer of excitement. So, with Mazzulla's comments sparking debate, where do you stand? Would the NBA be better with a little more spice? Or is the current balance just right? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.